Immigration is certainly one of the most divisive topics in our culture today, which is why it was one of the topics you wanted to know what the Bible had to say about it. Pastor Jim gave us some great points to help think through this giant topic with the Christ-centered lens. This week for our daily devos, we are going to move a little slower through these points as we try to align our hearts more with God's on this particular issue. The Bible actually has a lot to say about how we should treat the idea of immigration and immigrants themselves. In his first point, Pastor Jim highlighted how God constantly reminded the Israelites that they were immigrants. For hundreds of years, they were enslaved in Egypt and then wandered without a permanent home for 40 years. The sting of being vulnerable in the desert was quickly forgotten when they entered the Promised Land. This week's talk referenced three passages found in the Old Testament of the Bible: Exodus 22:21, Exodus 23:9, and Leviticus 19:33 through 34, to name a few. And while this idea can make sense to us, most of us have never known the feeling of being an immigrant. But for those of us who are Christians, we can empathize through the understanding of our lives before Jesus. The feeling of something being missing and loneliness that can fill our hearts apart from Christ. I know for me, while I have never known homelessness or what it's like to leave a country or culture I identified with, I can certainly remember the feeling of not belonging anywhere, the uncertainty of the direction my life was going. If we have a hard time identifying as foreigners and strangers like the Israelites were, we might be able to identify as foreigners and strangers to the Christian faith and how we treat others in light of that relationship we now have. Colossians 3:12 says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." Colossians is a letter in the New Testament of the Bible that Apostle Paul wrote to the people in the church of Colossae. He is telling them, hey, now that you are a part of God's family, here's how we should be known to others and treat others. During this week, as we take a more in-depth look at the Bible and immigration, we may feel a twinge of discomfort or defensiveness. I would encourage you in those moments to pray over and even work to memorize Colossians 3:12. It's one of my favorites because it drills right into what my heart should look like and gives the opportunity to align my heart more with the God who has given me everything I searched for, even when I was wandering the desert vulnerable and confused.